Right now, our Greg Coy and Andy Cole are standing by live with team coverage from her hometown of Plains. And Greg, many people, not just in Georgia, but across the world, are mourning this loss tonight.
She was a spirit and a figure and a public figure that will be hard to ever duplicate and replicate. Andy, I was talking to Andy just a few minutes ago, Brooke, that I'm of the age to have remembered when he ran for president and remembered Rosalynn Carter because she left such an indelible mark on our nation and the world. Tireless advocate for mental health, health care providers. That's big. A lot of people don't realize that she was so far in front of caring for folks, a devoted First Lady, a person who was devoted to not only the office of First Lady, her husband as well. We've talked about that. You've talked about that as well. And also, let's not forget, a symbol of grace and compassion.
Absolutely. Her husband of 77 years. Some people don't even live to be 77 years old. They were married for 77 years old. But her husband, former President Jimmy Carter, released a statement tonight through the Carter Center. We want you to take a look at that now. We're going to read part of it. Rosalynn was my equal partner in everything I ever accomplished. She gave me wise guidance and encouragement when I needed it. As long as Rosalynn was in the world, I always knew someone loved and supported me. Tonight, the CEO of Habitat for Humanity International said, quote, Ms. Carter has helped change the lives of thousands of homeowners, empowered countless women, and inspired millions of people. And Greg, here's a big number for you, 4,000. Miss and former President Carter have built 4,000 homes through Habitat for Humanity for those in need. You know, Habitat for Humanity is actually headquartered in the town next door, Americus, Georgia. They have a real connection to that group, and they were working it, even recently, up until a few months ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember they came to a community that I was working in before coming to beautiful Savannah and coastal Georgia. And there they were with their tool belts on a day that was particularly oppressively hot.
Absolutely.
And they were still working and doing that as well. I'm looking forward to hearing the comments from Habitat for Humanity of coastal Georgia that's going to have their big gala on December 1st. But I'm sure those folks are remembering the Carters as well, Rosalynn as well as Jimmy Carter, for the work that they did.
Absolutely.
Truly inspirational. We're going to have more on the life of the former president, the passing of the former First Lady, Rosalynn Carter, in about 30 minutes. We're reporting live in Plains, Georgia, the home of the former president and the First Lady. As you mentioned, Brooke, her funeral service was going to be Wednesday at the church that he taught Bible study and Sunday school forever, it seemed like. Brooke, back over to you.
Greg and Andy, thank you so much. And again, that funeral service is happening next Wednesday, November 29th.
I just want to say thank you.
Former First Lady and Georgia native Rosalynn Carter has lost her battle with dementia. She died yesterday at 96 years old in her hometown of Plains, Georgia.
WJCL 22 News' Andy Cole is joining us live now from Plains this morning. Andy, kind of talk us through what you are seeing there right now.
Hey, good morning, Emma and Olivia. Here in Plains, a town of less than 600 people, it's been incredibly quiet. I got out here last night around 10 o'clock. We didn't see many other people aside from reporters this morning. We spoke with one neighbor who lives here who says she is just heartbroken over this loss, as the country and certainly the state of Georgia, the home state to, of course, former First Lady Rosalynn Carter and former President Jimmy Carter. They are heartbroken tonight. Take a look at some video. Rosalynn Carter's family says she passed away yesterday at her home just 2 days after she entered hospice battling dementia. People who live here say they recently noticed the disease was taking a toll on her, but they say it didn't stop her or former President Jimmy Carter from spending time with the community when they could.
I think that this is the beginning of a whole new period in Rosalynn Carter's life, I guess, in that people can reflect on just how significant a First Lady she was and what a remarkable person she was.
Rosalynn Carter is survived by her husband of 77 years, former President Jimmy Carter, as well as her 4 kids and several grandchildren. We will be here in downtown Plains all throughout the morning, bringing you the latest here. For now, I'm Andy Cole, WJCL 22 News.
Our Andy Cole, great reporting for us this morning. Thank you so much. We will check back in with you. We want to go over to WJCL 22 News' AJ Sisson now. He is also live for us in Plains this morning. AJ, we are learning more about how people can spot the first signs of Alzheimer's disease.
Olivia, that's right. We talked to a doctor from Memorial Health who gave us some early warning signs and early things to look out for in the early stages of Alzheimer's and in the later stages of dementia.
First thing to affect them is short-term memory. So they're not going to be able to remember what they ate for dinner last night. They're not going to remember their doctor's appointments, perhaps, that are coming in the later in the week, until we actually get development of dementia, where they have other signs and symptoms, such as they're found after wandering, not know how to get back to the house after a walk, or they're driving and they don't know how to get back, even though this is the same route they've used for many years. But those symptoms usually come later in the disease progression.
Now take a look at this. Georgia and South Carolina actually landed in the top 10 states with the most Alzheimer's death, according to CDC data from 2021. Georgia reported more than 4,300 deaths, and in South Carolina, more than 2,400. And later this morning, we'll talk about first steps that your family should take if you do notice a loved one suffering from Alzheimer's or dementia. Olivia, back to you.
Some good information for us this morning. Thank you, AJ.
Well, right now at 6, former First Lady and Georgia native Rosalynn Carter has lost her battle with dementia. She died yesterday at 96 years old in her hometown of Plains, Georgia. She had just entered hospice just days ago.
First Lady of Georgia, First Lady of the United States. Time will show her to be, I think, one of the most significant First Ladies, if not the most significant First Lady.
President Joe Biden and First Lady Dr. Jill Biden also offering their condolences.
Just yesterday we lost former First Lady Rosalynn Carter, who walked her own path, inspiring the nation and the world along the way.
I hope that during the holidays you'll consider saying include the Carter family in your prayers.
And we want to go now to WJCL 22 News' Greg Coy live from Plains. Greg, you've been there all day long. Tell us, what do you have for us?
Well, you know what, Shannon, the legacy of Rosalynn Carter will certainly live on. From Main Street behind me to the Carter family farm and home to the left of me, and then to the right of me across the road over there is the old high school that both she and the former 39th president both attended as students and graduated. It's now a national park as well as a visitor center named after him. But as we found out when we walked inside, Rosalynn Carter's presence and memory share an equal stage. Flags fly at half-staff outside the Old Plains High School, now the Jimmy Carter Historical Park and Visitor Center. Inside the building are heavy hearts.
I've been a friend of Mrs. Carter's for 29 plus years. So even you think you're prepared. She's been sick for a while, but you're never prepared to hear the news that your hero passed away.
Your hero?
When she walked into a room, she brought hope. She was passionate about people, her friends, her family. She was passionate about her causes, mental health, eradicating diseases, about butterflies, about Habitat for Humanity.
Both Rosalynn Carter and Jimmy Carter both attended the same building as students. She would often help teach other students math.
She could have sat in the very desk that I'm sitting in right now. She constantly had memories and was telling stories about what was going on when she was here. She was valedictorian.
Sucky tells me whenever the park or a civic organization needed the Carters to attend a meeting, they would, particularly the First Lady. Some people would say they were celebrities in this town. No, they were just the Carters, Jimmy and Rosalynn?
You know, they were everything to this town. and we were everything to them. So they will be missed. She will be missed.
You know, Jill Stuckey talked about times when Rosalynn Carter would drop by her house and they would share a glass of wine, and she would talk about issues that were so important to her. And Jill Stuckey was hoping that perhaps now is the time that someone will see the interest nationally and globally for Rosalynn Carter and maybe want to write a book. And some of the people they'll be talking to are some of the very same people that our Lydia Blackstone interviewed today.
Yeah, Greg, here on the street, people just remembering her firsthand experiences that they had for her. Really just the memory of her and their legacy of the Carters here really is permanent in Plains.
They set the tempo, they're involved in everything, they're interweaved in just about every facet of the town.
The name Carter is everywhere in the small town of Plains, Georgia.
Regular folk, yep, absolutely.
The hometown of Rosalynn and Jimmy Carter, the 39th President of the United States. After his presidency, they moved back to Plains. Monday, their hometown is remembering Rosalynn, who passed away Sunday night.
Rosalynn would be a person that if the day wasn't going well for me, if I talked to her for 5 minutes, I felt good about life.
Family friend Tim Buchanan runs the Rosalynn Smith Carter Childhood Gardens. He says Rosalynn's legacy will continue to live on.
She will be as much a part of his legacy as he is and what they've done, because she was standing there holding his hand the entire time.
But those that knew her said she had a great sense of peace for the years she lived.
You know, to make it to 96 years old, you have accomplished a lot.
And Greg, that's really the consensus we heard is 96 years well spent here on Earth. People were just excited to celebrate really her life.
And her life, and also some of her legacies. One of the shops across and behind Lydia, they sell the butterfly trail T-shirt with a beautiful butterfly on the back. On the back of the shirt is a painting by who else but Jimmy Carter. So the two are always sort of married together, no matter how you look at it in this town.
Yeah, absolutely, Greg.
All right, you know what? We are going to talk about how you, the public, can get a chance to pay your last respects to the former First Lady. Funeral services for former First Lady Rosalynn Carter is going to start next week, and we'll tell you when and where the public is invited to participate. That's going to be coming up in just a few minutes when we join you for WJCL 22 News at 6 o'clock in about 10 minutes from now. Live in Plains, I'm Greg Coy, WJCL 22 News. Shannon, back over to you.
All right, thank you both for those live reports tonight.
And if you are just joining us, this, of course, is the funeral service, the private funeral service for former First Lady Rosalynn Carter. We are at the Maranatha Baptist Church down in her hometown of Plains, Georgia. You can see the guardsmen there around her casket, and really just such a beautiful service, a very emotional service. Her husband, Jimmy Carter, he was in attendance today after traveling to Atlanta for that service yesterday. The entire family is there. The church, it is completely packed. It was really special. There was a lot of laughter that was shared, talking about her life, who she was as a woman, and really just the standard that she made for being the First Lady of the United States of America. When her son spoke, he talked about how at that service in Atlanta yesterday, there were 3 presidents and 6 First Ladies. And that's because of the work that she did and the work that she continued to do to bring our entire country together. You know, her grandson talked about how she would play with her grandkids in the same room that her and her husband, Jimmy Carter, would host world leaders in. So she really was a well-rounded woman. She had a lot of pride in being the First Lady. And she said how she always thought that being the First Lady, that was, you know, just the highlight moment of her entire life. And when Jimmy Carter was not reelected, that was over. But then they built the Carter Center, and that is really where she shined, and her family talked a lot about that. You can see the processional coming out of the church. There was just her husband, Jimmy Carter, following out behind her. We do want to go now to WJCL 22 News. Greg Coy, he is joining us from outside of the church. Greg, I know you've been out there the entire service and the entire morning. What are you seeing right now?
Well, I can tell you we're reporting live from Plains, and on this Wednesday in Plains, we were in church. There's no question about it. Inside the chapel there, where the guards are standing by, where the door is about to open and the family will start to exit, we heard an amazing eulogy from the pastor talking about her being a virtuous woman, about the causes in life that she embraced, the causes in life that she advocated for, how she elevated her husband, how she elevated the country, how she elevated all the causes that matter to her, and how it really benefits, and how she was even saying that we still need a Rosalynn Carter fighting today, this virtuous woman. We even heard, as you mentioned before, from some of her own children and grandchildren talking about some of the early years of her life, her spirit, her wit, her ability to master so many things, being a single mom. Really, when you think about it, because Jimmy Carter was in the Navy, he was traveling, he was overseas, so she had to be the person who had to raise the children while he was away, and some of the crazy things that kids, 3 boys, like to do, and I'm one of 3 boys, and I can tell you, I've heard so many stories that took me back to my childhood. But we're waiting right now for the doors to open up and the family to walk out the processional, as they're going to jump into the cars and drive through Plains, Georgia, as people will be able to give their final respects to Rosalynn Carter. Emma, back to you.
Yeah, you know, Greg, something that really stood out to me, and you just mentioned it, is that the pastor mentioned how all of us women here in the U.S., we need a little bit of Rosalynn in us, and I think that's something that we can all carry on now in our lives. Thank you so much. And we do want to turn now to WJCL 22 News' Lydia Blackstone. She's live in downtown Plains. And Lydia, what are you seeing out there right now?
Hey, Emma, so we're here in downtown Plains right now. We're awaiting the processional that will come right through here so the community, which really is a second family to the Carters here, can say their goodbyes as well. I'm going to move out of the way so you can see what I see right now. You can see police are lining the streets right now as people gather to pay their final respects to Miss Rosalynn Carter. That should happen shortly as they make their way from the church down here. They'll come through here and go all the way back down to their family house, which is where Miss Carter will be buried, and one day where Mr. Carter, President Carter, will be buried as well. We'll keep you updated with all of that as they come through here. But as we talk to people out here, the consensus that we hear is that she was just a sweet Southern lady, a lady that was so respected, admired in this community and really all throughout the U.S. We spoke to a group of middle schoolers here. They got to play a unique role in some of the flowers on her casket, helping grow them, and they got to share their experiences, which we'll have more coming up in our later shows. But we'll just continue to talk to people out here and hear the same consensus, that just feel honored to be out here during a historic moment such as this and getting to see her legacy lived on by her family members at the funeral and now this community here in Plains. But I'll send it back over to you, Emma, as we await this.
Lydia, thank you so much. And we just got to see those flowers on her casket. Absolutely beautiful, and for someone who really was a beautiful woman both inside and out. Our Lydia Blackstone live for us in Plains. Lydia, thank you so much. And of course, you can continue to watch the service. We have it for you over on our website at WJCL.com, where it is streaming live. We will have more live coverage for you from Plains on WJCL 22 News starting at 4. We're going to send you back now to regular scheduled programming.
Today, during the celebration of her 96 years of life, invited guests heard a church choir and a local artist sing some of Rosalynn Carter's favorite gospel songs. WJCL 22 News' Greg Goy is live in Plains tonight. And Greg, you spoke to one of the soloists who said it was an amazing honor to sing for the family.
Good evening, Raleigh from Plains, Georgia. That is what she says. Joanna Maddox sang, as you just heard, the Lord's Prayer, a song selected by the Carter family that she was asked to sing. She said that she met Rosalynn Carter several times before it was bowled over by her warmth and sincerity. And performing this song at her church for her funeral service was an occasion and an opportunity that she had to accept. Did you feel her spirit when you were singing?
Oh, I did.
What was it saying to you?
That she's pleased. That hopefully I did her proud because it was such an honor for me. And I'm grateful.
Maddox telling me that when she finished singing that song, she had to contain herself not to go over and embrace former President Jimmy Carter, who was there at the service but did not speak because of her profound admiration for him as well as Rosalynn Carter. Rosalynn Carter, by the way, described as a virtuous woman. Those words from the pastor, and you'll hear why those are the words that he used to describe her, coming up tonight at 6 o'clock on WJCL 22 News. Live in Plains, Georgia, I'm Greg Coy. Riley, back over to you.
All right, Greg, thanks so much. WJCL 22 News' Lydia Blackstone was in downtown Plains as the family walked behind the motorcade of Mrs. Carter, taking her home one last time.
An emotional day here in downtown Plains as the community said goodbye to Miss Rosalynn Carter. Some saluting, some crying, some bringing flowers out here today to honor a woman they called family and First Lady.
I wanted to come and just be here and pay respects to Rosalynn for a life well lived, which puts it mildly.
People from all over coming to the Carters' hometown of Plains to pay respects to First Lady Rosalynn Carter for a lifetime of service.
We've been seeing a constant stream of visitors from all over the world expressing their grief and sharing their stories on how they interacted with Rosalynn and how it's changed their life.
Family following behind her as the motorcade took Miss Carter home one final time.
She's always going to be alive in Plains.
And I think Rosalynn Carter and Jimmy are the greatest of the greatest generation.
The greatest of the greatest generation, inspiring a whole new one.
I think everybody's honored to be here, and we're just here to pay our respects to Miss Rosalynn.
Sumter Middle School advisor Brinson Brock saying his students got to play a special role in Miss Carter's funeral, growing some of the very flowers used on her casket.
They rose from right here among us to be leaders in the world, and so I try to instill in my students that they can do the very same thing.
She was taken to her family home to be buried in a private family ceremony. In downtown Plains, Lydia Blackstone, WJCL 22 News.
You can watch our full coverage of the Rosalynn Carter funeral on our website, WJCL.com, or on the very local app. It is free in the Google Play and Apple App Stores. Closer to home, the legacy of Rosalynn Carter lives on in the Coastal Empire. Development Manager of Habitat for Humanity of the Coastal Empire, Ava Claire Maddox, says the group will remember Mrs. Carter for her commitment to service. She says both Mrs. and Mr. Carter are often mistaken as the organization's founders because of their dedication to the mission. Maddox shares she has a personal tie to the Carters, with the first family writing her congrats letter after she graduated college and began working for Habitat.
Her determination and passion and commitment to, of course, her husband and their relationship is something to look up to, but also the organization and the mission and families who she wasn't blood related to, but treated them as her own.
The Carters never made a stop at this specific chapter, but there is a legend. Carter announced his run for president just down the street at the bar Pinky Masters.